All right, we are ready to get back into session. First up to bat on department updates. Who's the lucky winner?
Actually, let me, if I may, I'm going to introduce this part of the program for everybody's behalf, for everybody's benefit. I mentioned it at the start that what I asked each of the department and division heads to do was to provide today. Are we having some feedback there?
Yeah.
Some talk back.
I think it's the door. She's back home.
Is the volume on the projector?
Mr. AI, Mr. AI.
How did that get turned up? There we go. All right. Ask department heads and division directors to submit to Rhonda and me over the last week or two for the benefit of you council today, a list of those things, a list of their needs for the upcoming budget and even potentially beyond. And as I mentioned earlier, it's my understanding that previously those lists have been culled before they come to you at budget time. I prefer not to do that. I want you to see the full picture of the needs of the town by department. Some departments or divisions did not submit any lists to us, so you won't see those today. But those who are going to talk today will have submitted a list to us. And then what we'll do is take this information, you will take this information, I hope, and help drive the decisions that you're going to make for the fiscal year 2026 budget that we will start again towards the end of February, and help prioritize the things that we need, we can and need to pay for, not only this fiscal year, but hopefully if we are able to do the things that Rhonda talked about in terms of 3 to 5 year budget plans, we can reasonably plan to pay for some of these things that maybe we can't do in a single year. So what you're going to see today is, I hate to call it a wish list, but it is certainly a list of things that we need to do, positions to add, equipment, software, you name it, that we need to add as a town. And hopefully we'll have the funding to do many of these things. For those things we don't have the funding for, then we will want to plan for going forward. So with that, I will turn it over to whoever's first. All right, there you go. Okay.
I might refer to Sean on a couple of these things, but first thing you see is that $88,000 security software. We are currently using a very advanced endpoint security software program that actually SLED provided to us after our break. I put this as a request in there, but there's help me out here, a very good chance that SLED is going to provide the grant again, and we may not have to fund this.
Yeah, without telling me yes, he's very confident it'll get refunded and we'll have another year.
I had to put it in there just in case, but we think that'll be fun. I don't know 100%.
Lenny, let me interrupt you real quick. Staff, Lenny, you got about 7.5 minutes each, so keep it high level. And remember, council is going to get this material after the meeting.
Okay, next one is a training software for end user training. This is to make people aware of how emails are, fake emails and scam emails and so forth. Again, may be funded by SLED, not 100%, but there's a very good chance that we'll get a grant for that as well. The other things, the 56,000. This is something we identified the need really when we were rebuilding the police department network. This was identified as a need. We couldn't do it at the time. We kind of are making our way with what we have. However, the network is too large really to, support what they're using now. The 2 firewalls that are at the police department will come to town hall if we make this change. So we will be, it's just more protection, and I know you said keep it high level, it's just more protection for our network. We're using, online immutable backups for the police department right now. We're actually using that now. Probably, there's money in the budget currently in the police department budget. We combine to have one IT department. A lot of that stuff will come over. But we think this is, it's not in the current budget, this 3,000, but we think that's what's approximately going to be for the amount of data that we're backing up. And immutable just means that it can't be, nobody can, touch the backup, even us. It's like a really super secure backup, basically. Just think of it that way.
Why is the backup important, Lenny?
Well, it's our data backup. That's the data, and for the police, that's their records, that's their, just everything. Watch car video, I mean, pretty much everything over there. That's why. The additional Office 365 licensing, we're going to start, when we got Office 365, we were mainly just email only. We got into it years ago. But now we've grown, and if y'all, I know some of y'all use Teams and other Office applications that require a little more licensing. And we're trying to get more departments on Teams as well, so we need more of the, what they call the G3 or G5 licenses. I put a little additional money in there for training and certifications. If we do combine this department, I do want my personnel trained, certified as much as possible. Of course, I like all of them to be members of the municipal association, and like I said, you get the certifications that apply to their job. We have 8,000 for a logging server implementation. This is our request from our new security administrator. Sean might be able to speak a little bit more on that, why we need that.
It's a requirement for CJIS, for the Criminal Justice Information System, that everything has to be for us to meet the requirements. We have to have a logging server. This one is a lot more robust than we had before, and it will cover across the town, not just the police department, but it basically will give us a roadmap as to what happened, like we didn't have this time. It was corrupted on the last one.
So if somebody tries to break in, this thing will tell us
right, we'll have
information about that intent.
We'll have a log of any and everything that happened.
And the secrets he's talking about is criminal justice information. Those are requirements by the state. Anyway, we have a little bit of money in there for converted networks. After the attack, we really didn't use hardly any third-party support. Sean and I managed the whole infrastructure rebuild pretty much on our own. We happened to use one company, which was Converge Networks. So we don't know if we're going to need this, but we probably put a little bit in there for some support, just in case, especially if we get too firewalls and so forth. This telephony service, new voice over IPs, as you know, the police department had limited phone communication for a while. We just found out this number actually may go down. And I'll get y'all an updated list. We literally just found out during the break. This may go down to about 24, so we may not need as much for that. And I'll let y'all know for sure here soon. That's the new position I was talking about if we do combine the departments into one. Any questions on that?
Other than the new position, which of those are recurring costs?
Let's see, the backup system is recurring. The 2 top ones could be recurring if we were not getting the grants, but we are currently getting the grants. This one is recurring to 7,500. This one's variable, it depends. That one's going to be recurring. And this one is recurring. So almost all of them are recurring expenses.
By recurring, you mean every year?
Right. But I don't like to this is probably the most, again, I've been here for 18 years, this is probably the most we've ever asked for in one shot, and I don't like to do anything unbudgeted. which we kind of were forced to do this year. So we think this is gonna, like I said, put us in a better spot and just make us more secure. And we just don't want to be in a position as other municipalities or agencies that aren't protected and find ourselves in that. So we're much better off now than we were, but I'll knock on wood. We are better off. Any other questions on that?
I'll just ask the question, and I don't know who has this, whether it's Rhonda or Chris. What's our overhead when it comes down to new employees? You know, you have a salary range there, but you have the benefits and all the things that go along.
It's what, between 30 and 40%, roughly.
Yeah,
30s.
general rule of thumb is about add 35% of that, whatever number to that.
So we just want to make sure we're capturing that when we're planning.
And that's something that we do, when Chief Wright and I were talking about some salary stuff. And even I think Chief Melcher as well, that was one of the things that when we were having discussions, make sure that they understood that you got to calculate in that fringe, because it's important.
Okay, cool. Any questions?
Thank you all.
Thanks, Lenny.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I don't have much to request other than a position that I would like to add into administration, which is a communications associate position. This role would be taking over social media management, content creation, photography, videography, copywriting, analytics, and monitoring. As you guys know, we have Katie, who is our intern, our public information intern. She's 3 months in, about 4 months in. She has about 2 months left on her contract. She has proven herself in her role, and I would love to be able to retain her, but with the timeline, I don't know if it's going to be possible. But even if that's not possible, I think that it's still very important to create a role like this. And the reason being is, as a public information officer, and as last year's 2024 showed us, we've had some incidents happen. When those incidents happen, that is when I go full on. I got to go into my PIO role, right? And those in crisis comms. In those situations, we are losing a lack of maybe social media posts, and other different things are going to fall by the wayside because I'm spending my basically 8 or more hours a day doing crisis comms. And we find that, and we've implemented, when I came into this role in 23, nothing against the previous CIOs, but we just weren't set up. We just weren't set up correctly. And so the last 2 years, I implemented a lot of things in place to really set us up for success. But I want to take it to another level, right? I want to keep going and keep going. We are the only municipality agency in the Tri-County that doesn't have, that only has one PIO or communications employee. So I would love to kind of keep on that realm. As for salary range, looking about 35 to 50,000 for this role. I'm funded out of HTAX. This easily could be funded out of HTAX. That's all the social media content and everything that's pushed out does really impact our tourism as well. Speaking on Katie and her role, I do have a couple notes about, she's only been here for a little under 4 months, but in her 4 months, and this is impressive, at 20 hours a week, she has been able to, pull my notes here, sorry. So she has updated social media graphics for basically the whole town, and is working with the police department, fire department, and Parks and Rec to update their graphics as well. She is producing town hall highlights. This is a social media campaign where she's highlighting different departments, and she's taking lead on that. She created the Halloween lip sync video. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was her idea. And she brought it to me and we made it happen. That was a very successful campaign that brought lightheartedness to our municipality, but also showed off the men and women that work in our Parks and Rec and Stormwater. And that was a really cool video. She developed Somerville's birthday video that we did last month. She is providing project updates on social media. And then she is also, as of tomorrow, going to be delivering a strategic communications plan to the Somerville Police Department with the transition of Deputy Chief Hirsch. He is their PIO, but with that transition, his role is taken to our level. And so when Chief and I talked, and we need to really implement a plan for them as they continue to enhance their social media, their video campaigns, and then also making sure all the graphics, everything that they push out is streamlined. Bringing Katie on would be able, or someone in this role, because of timeline, which I understand, allow more of that to happen, right? With the Parks and Rec department, with the fire department, to actually work together and build these plans and to help streamline communications, marketing, and all that. But also having someone in this role as well allows me to look at some of the bigger picture projects. I know I've implemented a lot of projects. It's taken a lot of my time, right? But we still got a lot that needs to be done. For example, we have C-Click Fix, and that's a mess, and we need to get that fixed. And that's one thing that I need to do. That's going to take up a lot of my time. And so, you know, we have other things like that as well, such as we have a mass communications platform on our Civic Plus on the back end that we do not use at this moment. But that's just because of time constraints. I would love to get that going, and that is for emergency communications and text messaging and everything like that as well. But that said, if y'all have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Any questions, Council?
What's the spin up time when you bring on a new employee to take on these roles? What's their time to get up to speed and
For this particularly, would
yeah, not if you had to hire, naturally if you hired
about 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. So where I feel comfortable, where they can communicate to 50,000 plus people.
Right. Yeah.
And I guess my question's for Scott. We could extend the contract if we chose to go this way or modify that somehow.
Yeah,
correct?
so we are paying her an intern's stipend, if you will. I think it's what,
It's
$15?
$15. She's a
$15
graduate from the University of Georgia.
Yeah, she's a graduate. That was something that we could accommodate within our current budget, Councilman Jackson. But you know, she's looking for jobs, and even if we don't hire her, I don't disagree with Chris that specifically when he's talking about working with C-Click Fix, and we have some civic citizen serve issues that we need to work through that touches a number of departments that are customer service that could offer a lot more customer service. So to potentially bring somebody on to help him manage not only what he's doing now, but allow him or somebody else under his purview to explore those things. I hear what you're saying, extend her, but she's looking for a job. She's looking for a job that's going to pay a lot more than $15 an hour, which you can't offer. So, yeah.
And she's a real good talent. I would hate to lose her, have her leave Somerville, but I understand time, you know, the time and how it lines up. So, you know, we have to accept that.
It's always a way.
Are there
But I
other-
would just want to say, I was just watching the heads here shaking, and I could see from a lot of people out there
Well,
that she's needed.
Let me do suggest this along what you're thinking too, Bob, is, you know, if we got some indication from you as a body that yes, you wanted to move forward with this position, then I think we could probably figure out a way to keep her on until the new budget comes along. We can figure that out, but I don't want y'all to have to try and commit to this position,
No,
you
I'm
know,
not.
prematurely. You know.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just asking, is it possible?
Understand.
And just for future, in the future, is there more opportunity for other interns for this position or?
The thing about an internship, and they're communicating to a lot of people.
Right.
And I was like I was hesitant for an internship in the first place, but with her experience, I was comfortable with it. But there's a lot of, I hate to say power, but when you push the button, you're communicating to 50,000 plus people, it's kind of scary. Not
No, that wasn't by any means shooting you down for a position. I was just trying to think of other opportunities.
No, it's a great
options,
question. It's a great
but
question.
yeah, I mean, just happen to have the perfect intern apply for the job that fit the needs, so that.
Yeah, but there is a possibility for internships, like a videographer
Right.
internship. There's really unique ways that we can implement some cool rules for internships for college students and high school students, but not for a role like that.
Right.
Two things. So, I've kept an intern at my company for 3 years and we keep rotating the interns out doing this very stuff. But the second thing is, I feel like I probably have the most vocal district, out of all of us. And I could show you my email when that video came out with streets department and the guys like lip syncing and playing on playground equipment. I didn't even see the video. I didn't know what people were talking about. My email, I got so many emails saying, this is what our taxpayers are paying for. Why aren't they doing their job? My taxes were raised and I'm paying my guys to be playing on playground equipment. I have so many emails from my district, complaining about that video. So I went out there. I didn't know what they were talking about. I went and found the video. And, you know, I had to say I was kind of, you know, after I heard all their feedback, I was kind of like, you know, I kind of feel the same way. If we hear from all the departments, they're short-staffed. Streets department, parks, everybody's short-staffed. So if we're so short-staffed, why are we like making TikTok videos of them like playing like in mask and peekaboo and all this stuff like that?
It's a great comment, and honestly, we expected that, you know, those comments, because we see that from my role in all municipalities. We expect that kind of response. The goal behind that particularly was to show that, you know, put their faces out to the public, because these men and women work so hard for us and they're not noticed.
Yeah.
And so making it kind of being unique about it, to get their faces on camera and get them noticed, and maybe people say hi now that they notice them. That was kind of the strategic thought process behind that.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
So we have had to use police officers to handle our public information, to include myself, for years. And we're not trained, and we go to some classes, we go to some training and whatnot. Chris has been phenomenal, great addition to the team. But this young lady, I've met her, she's high level. I understand about interns. I have interns influx through the police department all the time. Getting another one starting next week. And they're on to the next. They want to find a profession, but not a job. This is what she went to school for. So she's had to learn our culture, and she has been embedded with us and has learned our culture. You talked about spinning somebody up. How long does it take? Well, it's done. It's already done. It's just a matter of putting them in. But I would strongly suggest that y'all look at this, because she has been a tremendous help to us. She's helped us create a strategic plan. And I'll tell you this, my police officers were paid by the taxpayer yesterday to bag groceries at Publix for the Special Olympics. So I'd love for the community to tell
Well,
me.
that's different.
I know, I'm just saying, I would love for the community to think about things other than themselves. And think about the big picture. And I want that on the record that I said that.
Yeah, I think the police department being an integral part of the community is important.
Well, I would argue to those folks that our streets guys,
I didn't even respond to the emails.
everybody is integral to the operation of our town, and everybody that works for the town of Somerville, it works in service to all of our residents. And quite frankly, if somebody's looking to apply for a job here, and we have a tough time as it is recruiting people and retaining people, but if we can put out the image that, hey, this is a good place to work, we have fun sometimes when we're at work as well, I think that's a good thing. You know, this staff is looking forward, and I think those kinds of comments, in my view, are probably a backward-looking sort of attitude.
And there's a lot of complaints I get, I just don't respond to, because they are just, you know, there's a lot of just ridiculous.
Right.
So all my complaints are ridiculous. They're all, it's white noise.
I think I agree with Scott completely, because when you said it, I thought my answer would be, I appreciate your concern, It was a few minutes out of the day. We hire people, not robots.
Well, just because I participated in that,
Thanks, Cam.
I thought it was an extremely good team building exercise. It provided an opportunity for them to get to know me on a different level as well. And if I recall, it was during the lunch break because I basically ran home and, got a golf cart to go over there, so they chased me. So it was during lunch break as well, but I thought it was a great team building opportunity. And I actually only had positive feedback from the entire experience. I didn't see
I
one
almost
negative.
sent you those emails and was like, what do I even say to this? But I wasn't gonna waste your time.
Sadly, you've got a district.
All right, sorry.
No. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. I gave y'all kind of a little handout, for our department. Not really looking back, just kind of looking at the present. First page, has our current budget summary on there, just to kind of, not gonna go through all of this, don't want to take too much time, but our timeline, we're at 53% of the budget cycle, and our expenses total to 47.5, so we're staying pretty well on target for that, no concerns there. The next page is our proposed budget additions. We are asking for one position to be added, looking for a code enforcement manager position. That particular portion of our department does need a more hands-on management level role that more than I can offer my own time. A code enforcement issue is not a get it done and move on. You have to carry it through sometimes months, and this position is desperately needed.
Rebecca, when you say code enforcement, you're talking about property codes,
Yes.
property codes,
Yes.
Property maintenance code
Yes.
enforcement. Okay,
That's correct. For the ones that we have to write citations,
right.
that this person would actually be the person that would oversee citations and notices and just making sure the town is complying with all legal guidelines. And ideally, it would be the primary point of contact whenever we do go to present cases in front of the court. So some of the other expenses are mostly related to that position. They would need a vehicle to get back and forth to these issues, to work with the violators with citations and whatnot, gasoline expenses. The next item down there is dues and memberships. I am looking to have more of our staff members involved with training and certifications, and with these training classes, they do require you to become a member of their organization before you can attend these classes. I'm just asking for an extra $250 for that line item. Meetings and conferences, just like I mentioned, historically, our training budget was only designated or would only cover certifications and continuing education for our inspectors, but all of our staff is in need of professional development, and that's going to cost a little bit of extra money to cover more than just a few employees that we have under our staff here. Special projects, we have thrown around the idea. Right now, we're physically located, we're across the hall from the finance department, and when people come in, they're being bounced back and forth between the two counters, and they're having to take all their stuff and move it here and come back, and everyone's frustrated and doesn't understand why we can't just do everything at the same time in one place. So we have gotten an estimate on doing a small construction project to combine our counter spaces, so that when a citizen comes into town hall, you come straight to it, you see the counter as soon as you walk in, and staff from either side can help. So there won't be a side for the citizens, there'll be a side for the interior staff members though. The proposal was about $40,000, and we were gonna split that between finance and building department. So that's what that $20,000 is listed there for.
And this would, as you note here, would be where our concierge person would, that person would staff this space and be available to the public?
Yes, they would, them and all of our other clerks
Right.
would be staffing this space, but creating this space will also create an actual physical place for this concierge position to be, because we don't really have a designated space necessarily for them to be right now. And, you know, as they come on board, we're gonna need them to have a home. The IT, computer hardware and software. So we're looking for additional funding because since 2019, the town has exclusively only accepted digital drawings for permits and everything. So our inspectors go out to the field and they download the plans and they try the best they can to do an inspection from the plans on their phone. And it's not working. So we're looking to try to get them some devices where they can actually look at it and do better with their positions. So that's what that is for. And also they need internet connection. So it's the internet service required to download those plans. The last page back there is kind of very rough little sketch of what the concept for the counter renovation kind of looks like, just to give you an idea. And I invite each one of you to come down and I can go over this and kind of show you where our limitations are, but we just want to be able to serve the citizens better and reduce as much frustration as possible.
So that was cut off the whole way, going all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're not supposed to be using that
Right.
anyway.
So the new position would be basically over the code enforcement officer now, is that correct? Supervisor?
It'd be, a manager position.
So you got 2 code enforcement officers and the business license official as well.
Right.
So you'd have.
Well, the business license is part-time, so it's
Right,
only
right,
20 hours, and then 2 other people. in
The 2 code enforcement officers.
The business license person being part-time, does that mean people can only get business licenses
Oh,
part-time?
no, but she's an enforcement officer, so like delinquent taxes or delinquent licenses, she gets a list of that and she pursues them and tries to get them to bring their account up to date. She does a lot in 20 hours.
Well, that's what I was wondering, who does the other 20?
Yeah, if somebody wants a
Can I
business
ask you a
license, they come
question?
to the finance department.
How many code enforcement officers have you got now?
2.5.
2.5. And you're looking for a manager?
Yes, because they're boots to the ground type positions. They're out there talking to people, delivering citations, but there's a lot involved with doing research to get things ready before you can write a citation, making sure the proper name is being written on the citation. It's actually a lot harder than you think, because properties are owned under maybe an LLC, and then that's not a person. So it's like you have to do a lot of research and pull up. So we need someone with like I said, a managerial role that has that expertise and will be able to have the time to spend tracking that sort of information down and
So
preparing for cases.
you believe that the code enforcement people that you have now are unsatisfactory?
We've had a lot of issues in the past where we have not had enough time or resources to be able to pull up the correct information.
And they have been evaluated by you to find them unsatisfactory?
And we've gone over that we are all lacking in the legal aspect, and that's kind of what the training expense request is.
Mr. Brown, I don't, this is not a reflection on the 2 code enforcement officers we have right now. What their challenge is that because of the volume of complaints that we get, that they have to go out and investigate and then pursue, they don't have the time to come back to the office and then do the research, particularly on property issues that they need in order to best pursue a problem. And so this position would dedicate much of his or her time to doing that research in support of those 2 code enforcement officers so that they could, they have the time to continue to pursue cases where they don't now. This would supplement the work that they're doing now.
And so you feel that the manager will give these 2 people guidance and help them do a better job?
Yes.
All right, well, I was just wondering.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, bud.
My request is for an engineering technician. Salary range 45,000 to 65,000. That help with our roads and drainage inspections, encroachment permits, and plot plan reviews. I just want to give you all an overview of, I briefly looked at what we did this past year, 2024. And in engineering, we had 72 final plats submitted, 13 traffic impact studies performed. We had 35 encroachment permits approved. We had 42 stormwater permits approved. There were almost 60, it was 59 residential and commercial construction sites. About 45 of those are still active. Those require monthly inspections, which our stormwater department is helping with the MS4 program, inspecting that. We have placed a mile of roadway under warranty, and we've accepted a mile of roadway, and we have placed 5.5 miles of roadway in their drainage systems under warranty. So each year, we're getting, as the developments come in, we're growing our staff. In addition to our stormwater permits that we review, we also look at a component of the accessory structure part of the building permit review. Look at the site plans for those. Engineering, it touches, the other departments and comes with the site work. And having an engineering technician would really help free up a lot of time for the engineers that we have. It would help free up, my time, and then we have 2 other engineers, our assistant town engineer, our staff engineer, where they devote, in addition to the larger projects, they're devoting to these smaller site plan reviews, where a technician could help with that, and then also help with the field inspections that are needed.
Questions? Who's doing traffic studies now? Y'all just do it between?
We have 5 consultants.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just rotate between the consultants, and then we review it and coordinate with Department of Transportation.
What were we paying out for that? Just curious. Ballpark,
Every one of them's different.
Yeah.
everyone's different. Yeah,
Everyone's
project.
Doesn't the developer pay for that then?
Yes, the
Well,
developer
yeah,
pays for
okay.
it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay.
So, right, we work a lot with developers, other engineers, and then even like the citizens, contact us about a drainage issue in their yard. They have a concern, and then just, meeting with the citizens. It'd be great to have another body to help with that.
I agree, you need help. And I'd actually like you to think bigger with a full-time traffic engineer who could handle all the in-house projects, who could do the traffic impact studies, or at least coordinate those, someone who could have that full-time communication with DOT, someone who could start imagining what our roads and intersections and sidewalks could look like. I'm all for you getting some help. I just want to make sure it's in the right direction.
Right, and I agree with you there. I just feel right now we're putting out fires, it seems, all the time. And we just need to get a handle on what we have now. And then hopefully next year or in the future, we can look bigger. But
Councilman. All right, thanks, Bonnie.
Finance is not usually on the I won't list, but in the name of efficiencies, I like to, my staff works really hard, but I'm gonna work smarter, so we don't have to enhance our staff. One of the things I'd like to do is institute ACH payment processing that would make the process more efficiently. I have tremendous heartburn over the fact that if I enter ACH information by hand and even somebody checks it, if they make a mistake and there's a digit or two off, we could pay the wrong person. I'd like to have a third-party portal that the vendor actually goes in and inputs their own information and take that risk away. There's just not enough checks for me to absorb that kind of risk. And I don't know what the cost, we're still kind of evaluating what our options are, but I wanted to put that out there. This kind of folds into probably our merit pay system, but I do want to provide incentives, for our employees, to get certifications and to take approved classes that will help them enhance their position, in finance. Increased training budget, we haven't, with our current software, we probably really all could use, okay, let's see how we can use this software more efficiently. And they supply that, and we've done a little bit, but I think we need to enhance that for next year. I'd also like to engage David Cheatwood. He does all our bonds. He's our financial advisor. He also does cash flow management. And I don't mean just on when we spend down, I mean looking at what our fund balance is, what our permanent fund balance is, that we can actually look at long-term investments. Right now with interest rates where they are, I've got everything in short term, and it doesn't take any brains to do that. But interest rate structure is not going to be that way for long. That's not my area of expertise, and I like some planning tools in that area. There's a forecasting tool that we actually started with within that first year that I was here. It's called Minicast. And I really didn't have the capacity to use it like I should have. I really would like to revisit that again, continue that. We might even be able to absorb part of that into this year's budget. I think for just the general fund, it was about half that cost, about $2,500. And that might be the start of our 3 to 5 year budget planning, because it had assumptions and other things like that. So that's kind of in the back of my mind as something I can use. I would like to have a budget book software. You can look at some of the other municipalities around. They have nice presentations on their websites that certainly are more granular than our Excel documents. I mean, our Excel documents work, but I feel like we could get more detail for y'all and more detail for presentation and for planning purposes. I looked at that again in my first year, and I went to a conference and I saw this cool vendor, and I talked to him and found out Raquel was using them, and I said, "How much do you pay?" And she said, $20,000. I said, "Oh," and I just left it alone at that point. But anyway, as we've grown, as we have more to manage, it is something that I would like to look towards implementing. And there could be a solution that's less than that. I definitely want to investigate that. That's all.
Questions for Ms. Rhonda?
Thanks, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, my turn. So before we get started, just so my guys that are listening and watching, I'm sure that they are, we are not discussing salaries or anything like that in this meeting. So we were told we were going to discuss that later. So now they're probably going to turn their computer off, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Thank you for warning us.
That's right. So the first one, we talked about this earlier with the ladder truck situation. We're looking to replace our reserve ladder truck. It is 23 years old. It has a lot of miles on it, lots of hours. It was also involved in a very minor accident over the holidays. And we actually had this in our plan. We've planned out up to 2032 for our apparatus replacement. So this was in our plan. I was also asked not to put in for a new truck, so I didn't do that. But this ladder truck replacement for our reserve truck is very important to us. And I have up there spent up to $375,000. We do think we can find one that's, as a matter of fact, I'm getting email after email from our maintenance coordinator that he's finding other trucks, so that we're not in the situation that we have been the last couple of weeks. Secondly, I have in there about our purchasing 30 sets of bunker gear for the guys and gals that are on shift. over the next 3 years. For the total cost of this, and these numbers are a little bit off, for 90 sets of gears, like 382,000. That's a big number. However, in 2020, that number was half. So we spend an awful lot. This year has hit us really hard with bunker gear. In 2020, our bunker gear, just for a coat and pant, together was around $2,500. Right now it's $4,200. So it's doubled the price. But no fault of anyone's own, our line item is still the same price. So we're operating, we had to buy 24 sets this year, for recruit school and for, our fast track program, as well as guys on the floor. Our gear, we're right now, because they only have one set, they're averaging around 5 to 6 years. Gear is supposed to last to 10 years. We don't get 10 years worth of gear out of it, of wear out of it, because of how hard we do train, the call volume and everything. So with that, our guys work a 48-hour shift. So if they catch a call, say a structure fire on their first day, now their gear is soaking wet and they have to wear that gear, whether it be training or any other call, a wet set of gear for the next 2 days or for the next day. So this would definitely help out. Instead of buying it all at one time, this would kind of do a phase-in process. That way we don't have to buy another giant chunk another time. So we would slowly phase this in. The third, this is something we've asked for a couple years in a row, is our recruit school coordinator, our training officer or training chief. I would say 8 months out of the year, he is training either a fast track program or a full recruit school. During this time, he also does a lot of other things for the department. This guy is incredible. And if he is what he should be watching, he should be training recruits right now. But this guy is nationally known. This guy is on, I put him on a very high pedestal. However, he is extremely humble, but he is the best of the best around here by far. And I would like to give him some more help. In the last couple of years, we had a guy that was light duty, was kind of absorbing that role. Now he's having to do essentially 3 or 4 jobs in one. So we'd like to get him some help in the training division. And then lastly, 3 firefighters. This is for potential growth. There's always talks of adding another service company or a 7th station with Next and Boom the way that it is. So this would slowly start to increase the number of firefighters so that we can transition to either another company or another fire station. And there are other things, obviously, but these are the main things that we have that are going on right now. So,
and if I'm correct, Miles Jamison, we didn't hire any additionals for that, correct?
No, sir. We did over time. We did it over quite a few years. It took to build up for
so what you're asking for now is to
yes, sir. We're planning for the next one for sure.
It took us 10 years to get that. To get staff in available. I think it was about 10 years.
And then, of course, with that, you lose a lot. Like this past year, we lost 24 people. Right now, we're still short. We have 9 that are in recruit school now. When they come to the floor, we'll still be down 7. So it's an ongoing battle. It's I will say I was talking to Chris just a minute ago. We're so used to it, these ups and downs like this, but it wears you down. It really does, having to go through this all constantly. My training chief he's beat up, and it's just because we constantly have to put on these recruit schools, and our recruit schools are second to none. They would blow any other recruit school out of the water. They are hard charging, and it's for one thing, and it's to serve our customers and our citizens for sure. So,
questions for Chief? You said you had your kind of your capital plan out to 2032.
Yes, sir.
When's the next big $1 million expenditure estimated? I know we're going to be plugging that in.
I will send all this to Ms. Rhonda. I do have to make some adjustments because we had our last planning meeting. We kind of jumbled some things together. But we're ahead of the game. So, for an engine, for example, and I wrote this down so I could write some notes. It's recommended at 15 years, that a ladder truck go from frontline status to reserve status. And at 25 years, it's to be retired. An engine is 15 and 25. So we're ahead of the game, with most of these, but we have to stay on. The reason why we stay on top of it is because the price goes up constantly. It is constantly going, just like anything else. It's like I mentioned, the gear, the building that we were talking about earlier. I'm not going to spit out any numbers right now because it'll make you sigh for sure. But in comparison, just by looking at what we have here, I do think sharing with you guys and having a plan formulated, I do think it would be easier to blow than me asking for a $2.5 million truck or $1.5 million truck.
And I'm the one that told everybody, and I looked specifically at the chief and said, don't bring $1.5 million request to this meeting today.
And I just.
So we can do that later.
Yeah, so we got to get $2.5.
No, it's no fault of your own. I trust me, I understand it from both sides, from all sides. We try to be, we pinch pennies to get by, for sure. This year, I'll be honest with you, this year is a struggle. We are having to be a lot more conservative this year, but we're getting by, and we're going to do what we have to do to serve the citizens.
So Brent, you've been borrowing trucks because you need a truck, right?
Yes, sir. We haven't borrowed any yet. Right now, the guys are in, the guys are normally in ladder trucks or in engines. And let me give you a little bit of information as far as like why that's important for us to be in a ladder truck. On our ladder trucks, we have a lot of ground ladders. We have 265 feet of ground ladders that are on one ladder truck. On an engine, we have 38 feet of ground ladders. So if we go to an apartment building, and we have 5 engines there, those 5 engines don't equal to the amount of one ladder truck showing up. And we can, because it's so important for us to put a ladder to every window that's there. So we have ingress and egress for citizens that are trapped and for us to be able to get in and out. So us not having those ladder trucks on scene is vital. I mean, it is vital. And this is like I said earlier, this is a very rare case that we don't have a ladder truck up in service. This has by far been the longest that we've ever gone without it. Luckily, the other day when we did have to have a ladder truck, CNB provided their assistance. They were there very timely. So we're very appreciative of that. The ladder function, I can go on all day about how important they are. So,
Chief, all that said about the reserve truck, as far as the one up front, when we know about for sure about the condition of the accident and that reserve ladder.
We will wait. We're having to wait on the adjuster right now. They've already come and taken pictures of the truck. They've looked at it, and so we're just waiting, honestly, on them. So.
And you said earlier, our other truck was it could be home as early as February.
The one that's in Michigan could be at home early as February, and the other one could be released this afternoon.
Right.
So I mean, it's.
And I'm just thinking, we're in January right now. We won't talk about this again. We don't talk about this until July. We'll basically go from now until July with the reserve truck. So even if a truck needs to get serviced,
we'll have to ask the county.
We'll be borrowing trucks again,
sure.
or if a truck gets a flat tire.
Anytime.
Don't we have one reserve there?
We have one. That's the one losing the accident. And that's the one that we were looking to replace.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's something we ought to take a look at before July, maybe to I don't know. I mean, that's the rest of council weigh in as well, but I just think it's, we're talking about $375,000, up to $375,000. Maybe we find something a little bit better deal, but
yeah, we've found some that
for a
were
reserve truck.
pretty good.
My personal feeling is that's a priority is that, we shouldn't wait too long, shouldn't sit on our hands too long on it, because everybody got one being serviced and the other being, get a flat tire, then you're now we're back in the same boat where we have 0 ladder truck again. The reason why we put that redundancy in place is to keep operating. Well, I'm talking to you right now.
Right. You think it's fair council, you know, when you come to the deal that you believe is the best deal, that y'all bring that to council? You know, we have a council meeting in what, 2 weeks?
February.
Yeah, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something.
Chief,
Well, just so we.
What sort of
find that out
residual
soon.
value would we get out of the current?
I'm not sure. I've conversed with, our maintenance coordinator. It really depends on Sutphen, because that's who the manufacturer is. We usually go through Williams Fire. They can give us an estimate. I mean, a couple years ago, and I say a couple years ago, it's probably 5 or 6 years ago now, we were gonna get the truck, we were looking at getting the truck refurbished. But at the same time, the end of life for this truck is coming up. So it wouldn't make sense to dump, you know, all this money into refurbishing this
No, I
truck.
get that, but I mean, if a rural department somewhere that needed a ladder,
Sure.
I mean, what could we expect to maybe try and get for that?
I mean, the ladder's solid. I mean, if I threw out a number, 50 grand, probably. I mean, Parks,
And what would
Parks
it
might be able to use it to,
And what-
lose it as a charity. Just kidding.
And what will it cost to do the work to it?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know yet. We're waiting on the adjuster. So we'll have to see. I'm not a very patient person when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially when it comes to emergency stuff. But yeah, we're at the hands of them right now. So waiting on parts, waiting on adjusters.
Well, I know we're not in a position to make
Right, yeah,
a decision
yeah.
today, but I would urge you guys to alert council
Or bring it
if
to
you find the
committee.
right opportunity.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I just throw it out there. Just you got 6 months. If it takes you 2 months after July to make the, stretch fire out for about 8 months. And I agree with 100% on the recruit school coordinator too. That's a position we were trying to get for several years. That's, yeah. Something we need to fund.
I do appreciate the opportunity. So I think.
Brent, how good is, how long is your relationship with Dorchester County? As far as ladder trucks?
How good is it?
Yeah.
I feel it's pretty solid. They've been very easy to deal with as far as they're wanting us to use it for sure. Because we serve, you know, in the 209 district, we service the area as well with the ladder company. So this benefits them as well as it benefits our citizens.
Good relationship, but it can't go on forever.
Sure.
All right, any more? Yep. All right, thank you. Thank you, Brett.
So Parks and Recreation, I requested a position and a half, and I'll explain that. So the first is for a therapeutic programmer. I really do believe that for cities our size, we're probably one of the only ones in the state that does not have a therapeutic department. I feel very strongly about this, where there's a whole sector in our community that we're not able to service or provide opportunities for. I really do want to build this part of our community and make sure that we're offering a diverse and inclusive.
What is a therapeutic programmer?
So we, probably maybe 3 years ago, we added our first programming position, full-time programmer. So this person runs in-house programming camps, or pickleball leagues, you know, they've done a lot of parents' nights out or kids' nights in, however you want to call it. They've done a lot of programming, fishing opportunities. So a therapeutic programmer does the exact same thing, but they tailor a lot of their programs towards the special needs community. So if you look at other municipalities, they have an entire department or team designed to do these things, or offer these types of programs. So I think it's important too, because it's not only for the participant, a lot of times it's for the caregivers as well, that they've got somewhere for their kids to participate. These kids are in school throughout the year, but in the summer, they don't have any activities or a lot of opportunities like a typical child would, especially when it comes to camps and things. So we'd really like to get this program up and started. So that would be the therapeutic programmer. The second position is a pesticide technician. We have a pesticide technician now, one. He's the only licensed applicator for the town. He has told me that he's planning on retiring in January of 2026. So knowing that, unfortunately with the salary, I don't think that we're gonna be able to hire someone that is gonna come in licensed and have all the, experience that we need. So what I'd really like to do is in July, go ahead and advertise this position. He can work under his license while he's working to obtain his license for those first 6 months. And then have hopefully a seamless transition when he does retire in January. So it's essentially funding a second position for the first 6 months of the budget cycle. As far as, I guess any questions about those two? Yes, sir.
A question on the therapeutic program. And it's not about money, obviously. I've heard from this cross section of our community, there's a huge need for this type of activity, but don't folks pay typically for some of these programs? And how much does that take away and chip away at the salary? I know a lot of our programs actually generate some revenue. We're not trying to fund it or be profitable, but how does that kind of compensate for the position?
So with our recreation programmer, that position is designed to generate a profit, and that position does. So it more than covers its salary. The therapeutic programmer would be different. I don't think that would be necessarily a goal of that particular position. You do typically charge a fee for those programs, but it's fairly nominal. You try to keep those things affordable. So it's certain they would generate some revenue, but probably not quite as much. It certainly would help us as a department when we run large scale events to have an extra person on hand. So I think there's a lot of value just to us as a team having an extra person as well. When we do big events like the fireworks or the Christmas tree lighting, have another team member there so they can certainly shoulder some of that work as well.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You've got two sources of it, money coming in, one through the foundation and the money from the council.
Yes, sir.
Your personnel request, you have to do that out of the council money. Your foundation doesn't address that for you.
Yes, sir. The foundation has no paid staff. They also have no steady stream of income. There's nothing. The only money that they have is what they're able to fundraise for, or grants that they apply for, or private donations. Where the way that we are set up, we don't pay anyone. We would have to change our bylaws if we were going to look at hiring and paying salaries.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I just realized it's probably might be a little easier for you to use the council money as opposed to the foundation. The foundation help you out with the larger issues, don't they? As far as trying to.
They help us try to find, identify funding for projects or support projects where we may have a shortfall, but they're not anywhere in a financial position where they can even consider taking on something like this. And also I don't know that we would want that because they are completely separate and independent from the town. So I don't think that we would want them to be paying a salary for a town employee. I think that would get very tricky.
I understand. I just want to make that point.
So, yeah. Any other questions, positions? Okay. As far as our capital request, if you will, I have no expectation when I made this list that even half of these would be funded. A lot of these are more or less things for us to discuss and kind of talk through.
Beth, Lenny, can y'all enlarge that at all? At least so we can see the numbers.
The notes were really more for me, but so y'all really don't even need to see those. Those would mean nothing to you probably. I will say, one of our biggest needs is still is vehicles. There's number 1, 2, and 5. Those are all vehicles. 1 and 5 were requests from last year that have carried over to this year. Those are significant needs for us, which certainly would be in the top 5 for our department going into this year. Doty Playground, I know a lot of, I've talked to a lot of you guys about this, but I do feel it's important. that we continue kind of updating a lot of our playgrounds. We've been fortunate, we've done 3 in the last 3 years, but Doty is the next logical one to tackle. I think a lot of the funding can come through CBDG funding, the Consolidated Block Development Grant. But I think it's so important, we just built this beautiful splash pad, it's accessible, kids can come out, but then you go to the playground and it's outdated, there's step downs, the surfacing is an issue for certain kids. So really, and there's just not a lot of good variety of equipment there. So I would love to be able to see that project happen. The pavilion at Jessen is at a point where I think we either are going to have to replace it or we're going to have to remove it. The posts are failing. There's just so much deterioration down at the bottom. The cost of replacing those, and we looked at that, it doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money. That area floods. If we were to build it back, we'd certainly look at probably a metal, support structures rather than wood. So that's what that particular item is.
Which number was that?
The number 4, the pavilion at Jessen Boat Landing.
Okay.
Number 6 is at Gahagan Park. Kind of, you go to the back of the facility, it kind of makes like an L shape. There's an area back there. That field could be converted to a usable field. The pitch is not right. We'd have to lay some pipe and kind of level that out and replace some fencing. But if we were able to do that, we could get some kids playing on that field. That will help us there with the growth that we've experienced in athletics the last several years. We don't have any room to put these kids. So that would help us drastically with some of that demand. Number 7, I had put that on there, and even when I put it on the list, I knew I needed to do a little bit more research on it. I do think this item, we still have a little bit of life left in that parking lot. I think it's good to have it on this list so that you guys can see it. It's coming, but Gahagan parking lot is going to at some point need to be resurfaced, but that one certainly can be moved to the bottom of the list for this year. Gahagan shade structures, we have money in this year's budget. What I'm trying to do is do one field every year until we get shade structures over all the bleachers at the field. So essentially is two bleachers each year is what I'm trying to do. Custom play pieces for Azalea. So really from here down, there's a lot of ideas, and it's really up to this council to decide what they really want to rally behind. I think none of them are bad. They'd all really enhance our community. The Leadership Dorchester class from last year gave us $10,000 towards phase 2. While that's fabulous, 10,000, we could do a whole lot more if we could kind of match those funds and put a little bit with it. I think we could get some other really cool additions in there. The Sawmill extension signs with the Berlin G. Myers extension, a lot of the signage along the trail is now outdated, particularly with hopefully the extension down to Dorchester, and then also that extra trail that they added going towards Somerville High School. So we're gonna have to redo all of those maps and update that signage. Sorry, I lost my place. A lot of opportunities. We've been slowly and steadily converting lights to LED, so I won't, that's pretty straightforward. We have been looking at a lot of ways that we can bring technology in. So this year we did get a robotic painter. We actually just got it about a month ago. We're super excited about that. That's going to free up a lot of our staff time to do other things. One of the things every year we purchase a mower. Looking at next year, we started demoing robotic mowers that we could use. I've got a staff member who's on a mower at Gahagan two full days a week. So if I can get him off that mower, that frees him up for 2 whole days to do something else. So we're exploring some opportunities and innovative ways that we can do that to save staff time and so they can do other things. Gahagan light conversion, probably maybe 7 years ago, council converted 2 of the softball fields to LED, but then we haven't continued that. So I'd really like us to continue those light fixtures. It would be much of a cost savings for us to convert those lights. along with maintenance, the halogen lights, they require a lot of maintenance. We have to rent a lift to come out there and service those. It's a quite a bit of maintenance. So that would be, the 225 would just be to convert the front football field. And then, hopefully we could continue with the 4 baseball fields, the back football field, some of those as we go. Hutchinson Square, that 101,000 is if we would want to turf that area. It takes a beating throughout the year. We do our best to keep it looking good for events, but especially spring and fall, there's only so much we can do with the amount of foot traffic it gets. So if we wanted to turf that, and again, that's something that is, at y'all's discretion, if that's something you want to pursue. The parks master plan, we've talked about whether this should be a needs assessment, a master plan. When I got quotes for a master plan, it came back at like 150,000 plus, and I don't see that. Particularly, I think hopefully with the vision plan that's being worked on, I think that there will be some information there that we can pull from. In addition, I know the school district just did a lot of kind of data points that we could pull from. I think we could do some assessments in-house. So I was looking, if this is something that y'all want us to pursue, is more of a scaled back version of park specific needs assessment. I think between using some of the data that's available to us, hopefully we could couple that with maybe some planning dollars, and maybe the Parks Foundation could throw in some money, and we could try to get a decent needs assessment for that. The skate park construction, of course, is a project we've talked about for many, many years. So nothing new there. I still would really love to see that happen at some point. Cuthbert, the same thing. I do think the design, if we could get the design fee for the Environmental Education Center, I do think there's a lot of potential grant and funding opportunities out there for that. We might even be able to find some for the design fee, but I think if we knew what we wanted to build, there would be a lot of grants that we could pursue even for the construction, but we need a little bit of information for those. And then the Sawmill Exercise Station. So through the Somerville Parks Foundation, we are getting ready to update 2 of those within the next couple of months, which will leave 1 more. And so if we want to kind of finish all of those out along that trail, would be 32,000. And then one other item that I just put down here underneath, you probably can't, it's not on there, but the sawmill, the asphalt along that trail it's going to need to be resurfaced. We had talked about widening it and striping it. So it just makes logical sense that we would do that at the same time. That's going to cost some significant money. So I wanted to start talking about that now. Not for this coming budget, but it's probably to the tune of 3 million or plus. But I mean, it's 6.5 miles. It's not going to be cheap to do. But that asphalt, I mean, it's already splitting. You've got grass growing up throughout it. It's something that we're going to have to start looking to identify funding for. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. And I know Chief is going to talk a little bit more about the lights and cameras, so I'll let him do that. I know that's a ton of information. I tried to.
That was more than 7.5 minutes.
I know, I'm sorry. I ran as quickly as I could. I don't think I took a breath.
I have a question.
Yes.
I didn't quite hear you when you were talking about Hutchinson Square. What was the issue in Hutchinson Square?
If the grass, if we would like to turf the grass areas within Hutchinson Square.
Because the grass those 2, it looks terrible. The two, what do you want to call those? The grass space.
Grass space.
Yeah.
Do you have any type of estimate that how much that would cost?
I do. I've got a quote. It's $101,000.
101.
Yes, ma'am. We came back at.
Get that one taken off?
Amy, how much of the trail did you got? Didn't they just resurface a good bit of that with the Berlin G Parkway, like right there on the Luden Drive area? Was that resurfaced right there, or was that part of that project?
No, yes, the section basically, particularly from Luden down to Carolina, yes.
Okay.
But if we widen it and stripe it, we would have to address that at the same time, I think.
Just curious. I noticed it the other day. It looked good from Luden Drive. look new, I guess I should say, look fresh. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and
I'm not
again,
talking about
it's
3 million,
more
I'm
for
just
you
talking
guys to decide what you guys want to invest in, what you want to accomplish, you know, certainly
Yep.
not all of this, but it certainly is all on the list.
Any questions, Frank?
All right.
Thanks, Amy, appreciate it.
All right, I will make up Amy's time that she remembered. I just have two things that I'm requesting in terms of major requests. One, we kind of talked about a little bit last year, comprehensive plan update, hoping the joint vision plan can help with that, but I feel like it's gonna be a little more than just what's done with that. Now that I'm taking a closer look at it and now that we've had some rezonings and annexations, I think our future land use map is a little more work than I thought it did previously. So, and we are by state law required to update that every 5 years. So it's not really a choice thing. It's something we have to do. Again, I'm hoping I don't need the full 75,000, but I don't want to be caught without that money that is needed. And the other one is impact fee study capital improvements plan, CIP update. Same thing, it's required to be updated at the same schedule as the comprehensive plan. So it is about that time to do that as well. We have to do that in order to continue to charge impact fees. So again, different state code section, but it is required by state law, and also requesting approximately 75,000 for that as well. You know, what that may cost, I honestly don't know, but I feel like the last time we did it, I think it was around 50, and so it's been 5 years. I feel like 75 hopefully would be enough for that.
Jesse, would you recommend, or is it allowable to let one vendor potentially do both, or would you have separate vendors do each of those?
I think that's kind of up to us. I don't think there's anything that would prohibit that. It's just how we decide to put it out there as a potential, you know, RFP.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, because you have 2 people researching, 2 people measuring, a lot of those
They
things.
are kind of obviously different things you're looking at.
Yeah.
Honestly. It's not the same, we're certainly not looking at the same information.
It will be hard to
But there are
find.
definitely firms that could do, you know, different divisions from their firm would be doing it, but there are certainly firms that could do both, who have the expertise to do both. You know, whether both of those divisions have the capacity at the same time, I don't know. That's all.
So state law required items. Excellent. No option there. All right.
Just.
All right, so I'm gonna also make up for time, if you can believe that, with our dispatch. Talking about communications first and foremost, our dispatch center. Talking about capital improvement plan, part of our CIP plan we're moving into right now is to replace 30 police walkie-talkies and 20 police walkie-talkies, which was already planned for that this year. Also too, Sean and Lanny both alluded to some of the subscriptions and things that they're asking for their IT department, and us being able to move some of that money out of the comms budget over to that. So that would help fund quite a few of the programs they're already talking about would not be new money. That would be money that's consistently and already budgeted within the communications budget. We also are looking to onboard 2 new dispatchers to cover swing shifts. The reason for that is the call volume that we've encountered, both police and fire, and also non-emergency 911 calls as well. To give you an idea, for law calls, we're about just under 100,000 this past year, 2024. We hover between 96,000 and about 99,000 a year in law calls. From 2021 in fire calls, they've gone from 5,783 calls to 7,042 calls for service on the fires. That's a total of 105,800 or 586 calls a year. So add into that the non-emergency calls in our dispatch centers, taking in 147,170 calls per year. That's up from last year at 109,000. So they were at 109,436 last year. They're at 147,170 this past year. So 2 dispatchers to help with a swing shift that would cover the evening time going into the nighttime. That's when we have a high call volume for police and fire. Also too, one of the things that we've been working on a better part of last year up to the cyber attack in July was to marry our CAD system with all 3 counties' CAD systems. That system that we would be utilizing is called Rave. And I got the price point for that this week. So it doesn't need to go before council. It's under $50,000, but my plan is to have all 3 CADs married here very soon. That will also allow for us to have reverse 911 to call geofence different areas of the town to send reverse 911 calls to them in case there's an emergency or some type of emergency event, much like County Emergency Operations Center does. Is there any questions about any of that? Nope. Okay. And much like Brent, I know dispatchers and police officers like to watch these things sometimes, but we won't be discussing salaries. The police department, we had quite a bit of personnel movement and changes within the past couple of years. We took 2 sworn positions and made them into civilian positions. It's not something I ever like to do, but we were able to do that with crime scene technicians that came to us with combined experience of over 50 years, which was much needed in that area. So we one's a retired police officer who's been doing it his whole career. The other one's been doing it for about 18 years. So that's 2 less police positions that we incurred. But as you know, from our cyber attack, as well as the problem we had with evidence in the past couple of years, it's important to have the proper people in that position, in that setting. So talking about the police department, we haven't asked for police officers since 2021. In 2021, we asked for police officers. We didn't have the funding there. What we did was we got kind of ingenuitive, and we were able to fund those out of hospitality tax. So those are your Team 6 hospitality officers. We grew the police department in that area, and obviously they're well received within the business district that they serve. We have not grown our police department in manpower, although we have grown in call volume and the diversity of the type of calls that we're having to handle, as well as the length of time we're having to apply to them. And so we did grow the police department through the ARPA plan with the crisis intervention team, which we were able to, through grants, continue to fund, which we're very grateful for. But I'm currently asking for a total of 5 police officers, 1 for each patrol team. That's 4 patrol teams, and then 1 detective to help cover the immense call volume that they're seeing on caseloads, and very diversified cases at that, ranging from small property crimes to major persons crimes, forgery, fraud cases that I know many of you are aware of that number into the tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of money that's being defrauded from people within here in the town and afar. So as well as what I discussed in the past is 2 community service officers, which would be low-level paid people who would probably be perfect for like our law enforcement and fire explorers who range between the age of 18 to 21. Basically having 2 of them, what they would do is they would respond in a pickup truck type of a vehicle with gas can, with a generator, with different things in it to allow, kind of like what Shep does on the side of the road, but they also would help with broke down cars. They would have a light stick on the top of the vehicle that would be able to grow out of the vehicle to block traffic. And what it's doing is it's taking the police department and the entire fire apparatus off the road from blocking. They get on there for scene control. They have to be there. They control the scene. The fire department does. Some of these cars are broke down. And the other day I saw 2 fire apparatus in 1 truck on a bridge on 526 to block the entire lane of travel. Think about all the man hours and people that were on those vehicles, that apparatus, a truck could have been somewhere else. Not to mention the things that they could do is they can also handle non-in-progress calls for service, much like you have certain types of property crime, like a bicycle's been stolen, your license plate's been stolen off your car. We're sending a police officer out to your residence at your place of crime, and we're taking that report. These young people, we're able to onboard them and kind of evaluate them to see if this is what we want to become a police officer or fireman. And so we have quite a few people around our programs that are very interested in doing something like this. This is kind of united. This is not new. Mount Pleasant has been doing it for over 20 years. The city of Charleston has been doing it for many, many years. North Charleston has been doing it for about 20 years. Berkeley County is now doing it. And I have all ideas. You're going to see other agencies doing it as well. So I would like to see that done. Obviously, 2 people, 1 vehicle, and they can work shift hours to where it's overlap where they can work throughout the week. So again, that's 4 police officers, 1 detective, and 2 community service officers. Mr. Slatton came to us and said, hey, come to them and tell them what it is you need, not what you want. So I'm coming to you what we need. I think everybody in this room is, and he's right. A lot of times it was like the walk to death row going to the town administrator's office, because we knew it was that we passed and like ships in the middle of the night, we passed as department heads in the hallway, and they'd say, you're not getting anything before I even got there. So that might be still the case, but at least you get to hear things that y'all never got to hear that were slashed, and it's not their fault. That's their job, is to be, fiscally conservative with the taxpayers' dollars. So I bring all those things up, but I just want to talk about a few others. One is going to be a conversation. I think you're going to be interested to ask questions, and I'll give you as much information as I can. But one, we've already started the onboarding. I just read more of your information of a drone first responder program. And so what this looks like, there's no police department in South Carolina that is doing it. There's 1 fire department, it's Pawleys Island. We were going to present this at the August meeting, but the cyber attack happened the 3rd week of July, and we canked it. So we being myself, the fire department, chief staff, and Chris Mikowski feel like we're in a position to continue to work towards this. So we have, we and the sheriff and the fire department have purchased drones. So what a drone first responder program looks like is essentially allowing a drone to be on site at our headquarters. And as soon as a call comes out, dispatch pushes a button, and this flies itself by longitude, latitude to the call for service by itself, and it's orbiting over that call for service. We did had a study done that came out. They can fly the entire radius of the town of Somerville to the furthest location within 3 minutes. You figure by the time the call's being typed in, the call's being put out, the cars are in traffic, they're driving, you have eyes on. If it's a fire, you're setting apparatus, you can have eyes on to see if the smoke's showing. If you have a burglary in progress or someone that's lifting door handles, we had a call during the Christmas parade that someone was lifting door handles and they didn't know we had our drone up, and we were up there at Tally-Ho looking and watching these people with complete overwatch. They push the button, drone comes back and lands exactly back where it came from. The drone we recently purchased has FLIR capability, so it's forward infrared looking at nighttime for heat signatures. That's good for the fire department as well, so they can see if there's life or they can see the origination of a fire, as well as we have missing people, someone who has Alzheimer's or some type of mental disability, or someone who's run from us. We have that, has a hailer, which is a loudspeaker, as well as a spotlight, and we want to continue to grow that program eventually to be a fully capable and functioning drone first responder program. And let me tell you, I think from the standpoint of merchants, the amount of shoplifting we have, when we had Ulta that was being hit time after time after time, and we literally could not stop these people there going up and down the Eastern Seaboard. And we could have had a drone up and a sight on that vehicle, a tag on that vehicle, and instead of us chasing our tails. And I think this would be a wonderful program. Our license plate reader program, I'd like to grow that program some more. We've geo-fenced the entire town. We have almost every homicide we had in town this past year. We were able to get timelines of the victims coming into town and the suspects leaving town, and also movements throughout the town, as well as recovering over $500,000 in stolen vehicles in the first 6 months of the program last year. So it's invaluable. I'd like to grow that. Next, y'all tasked me to come to you with trail cam ideas. I know I mentioned to you all at the meeting 2 months ago what that would look like, and I'm just going to give you a ballpark idea of trailheads by themselves. That's where you park your car on Richardson, Ashley Drive, or Biggins Bridge Road, covering those areas alone. Then I'm going to give you a price point idea of what it looks like to have just the trail, the 6.1 miles of trail by itself. And then I'm gonna give you a price point of what all of it looks like by itself. And it's not pretty, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. But I will give you the real numbers, and it's my hope that we can team up with the county. I know that Councilman Crosby made it known to us that there is a pot of money that he thinks that we might be able to, with Mr. Ward, work with them to possibly get some of this stuff, help to fund some of this stuff in the future. By no means do I expect any of this to be done anytime soon, but we have to put our best foot forward. We told the public we're doing this, that we're looking into this, so I'm here to report it to you. Just got to give you an idea. We're looking at concrete bolted in, base installed, 16-foot aluminum poles that are decorative. They will have solar panels and a pole mounted camera with the rechargeable, or excuse me, a reachable light, unreachable height, lithium batteries, reserve power. It would last up to a week without any light. They would be running 120 volt power inverter. These are high-end cameras to a cloud shared that we already use for our town and Hudson Square area, as well as town hall and the police department and the parking garage. Sailor data transmission unit, surge suppression, and also a blue LED light on them so people will know that they're on there. So to give you an idea, if we do 3 trailheads, that's again Richardson Avenue, that's approximately 4 or 2 poles per area for 3 trailheads. So we're looking at, for the installation for the trail, the poles, the cameras, $251,100. That would cover all 3 of those areas with the 360 panoramic PTZ zoom camera that would live feed into our dispatch center. The annual cost on that for annual cellular and cloud cost is going to be $8,900, $8,925. So that's not too bad there. Now I'm going to give you the cost of what it would look like for the bike path only, approximately 125 poles. They are estimating to cover that distance. Certainly these can be uprooted and removed to a different location if and when the trail gets widened. And we're looking at $4,600,200, and yeah. So we're looking at about 4.25 for that. That's just for the trail. And then for the cellular cloud cost about $184,025 a year. And last but not least, you can imagine the balloon number if you do the trailheads and you do the actual trail itself. We're at $5,076,300 with the annual cellular and cloud cost of about $192,025. So ugly numbers, but hey, you tasked me, I gave them to you. I'm sure that the lowest bidder may win if that time ever comes, but I wanted to give you that number. Any questions about that?
Yeah, what about Team 7? We hire some police officers and they just run back and forth on the.
Do it. You're the council. Do what you want.
I mean,
no, I mean,
$1 million.
Yeah. So listen, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done here. There's a lot that can be done here. And my job is to come to you with solutions or ideas. Amy and I work very closely together on this. We recognize that safety is the #1 priority in the town, but especially in those areas that are very vulnerable to people. All right, next I'm moving on to vehicles, if there's no questions about that. So Councilman Jackson, and I believe you and Councilwoman Johnson Wilson, y'all both have mentioned in the past about vehicle replacement. What's the plan? Is there a plan? What's actually adequate? Are you guys over replacing? Are you under replacing? And those are all very viable questions and very important. The answer is, it's never been really done properly. Council voted many years ago to buy 20% of the fleet a year. And obviously a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have changed. Prices, COVID, supply chain shortages. And then you put in the equation of the vehicles blowing up, the motors going bad, officers crashing them, people crashing into us. They get flooded. They get totaled from floods. There's a lot of one-offs. So that program
evaluate. So what we do is we kind of ask for a ballpark of 20 cars per year. Obviously, nobody got capital here for obvious reasons. We didn't know how much money we had, and it was scary, and it still is, but it's not as half as bad as it was running. And so we evaluate in 2020, when I was police captain.
Leasing vehicles. Now, when I say lease, you all are used to the lease to own idea of we borrow from a local bank at a low interest rate and we pay it back over time. That's not a true lease program in the measure of what we're talking about here. So we looked at several options in 2019 or 2020 with Chief Rogers, and at the time, it was not a good program. In fact, when I went to Mr. Slatton, I told him that, what is your experience with enterprise rental car with lease to own for government vehicles? He says, well, it's not a good one. But I'm willing to listen. Well, I told him the exact same thing. I said, well, mine was not good either the first time around until this time around. Things have really changed. So we scheduled a meeting, and Mr. Slatton is the pessimist. It's okay. It's his job. And if you get him and Ron in the room, you're in trouble. And I did. I had them both in the room. And so, first of all, we met with Mr. Slatton first, and he said, you know what? I will allow you all to bring me and Ms. Rhonda in for a presentation from Enterprise. Now, I've already had the Enterprise meet with us. I met with them, Mr. Slatton by himself, and then with our staff, and then we met with Enterprise. And it's important to lay this out, because you have to understand this is not a crew that rubber stamps a single thing. And by no stretch of imagination are they rubber stamping this, that they've given me the okay to present it, because I think they think it could be advantageous for us. And so the whole idea is, when we looked at it before, we looked at it, okay, you spend this much this year, this much this year, and it keeps ballooning up into year 5. And in year 5, you're like, holy crap, I'm at this much money, and it's not worth our while. So then when things have changed with us with vehicles, we've lost them. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're wrecking vehicles, and for every 3 cars I wreck, I get enough money in insurance money to buy 1 car. And so that doesn't fix things. We've used drug money to buy vehicles, quite a few vehicles over the last several years, which I have under my authority to do, but drug money just doesn't come available often with the Department of Justice. So we do what we can. So what I want to just explain to you is they did an assessment of our fleet, a true assessment. They got every VIN number, every mileage, every bit of data they could collect about every one of our vehicles. It was sent to them in a spreadsheet, and they created an entire fleet analysis for us. Right now, we are on a 9-year replacement on vehicles. At average, it would take 9 years to replace our vehicles right now at the rate we're going. As I explained at council meeting, I think 2 months ago, a patrol vehicle is supposed to have a 5-year shelf life or 100,000 miles. And so it depends. It's different if you're in the city than in the county. In this county, you're on rural roads. You're driving long distances. Like I was telling you, not to stop and go, but you're in the city, the car's running, you're stop, go, turn, stop, go, turn. And so that puts a lot more wear and tear on the car, but idle time counts against it too, as well. So they basically came down and told us that it would take 9 years to replace our fleet. And 20% of our light medium fleet vehicles are 10 years or older. 55% of our light medium vehicles are 6 years or older, and 6.5 years is the current average age of the fleet. So it takes 10.6 years of cycle for the entire fleet. So what is costing us right now? They averaged, Ronnie, you'll like this number, $193 a month per car for maintenance. They're saying it's going to cost, it costs us that right now. They're also talking about on an average. So you have one vehicle that has a lot wrong with it, and you have one that has nothing wrong with it. And a lot of it depends on the driver too, right? But you might have oil changes, you might have something break down. So what they're saying to us is, with a new fleet, and I'll get to the number you want to hear, with the new fleet, it's more cost effective with the maintenance because you have newer vehicles. That price will go down to, they're saying, $94 a month per vehicle from $193. That's cost savings. Then on top of that, you're also going to save money in fuel because these vehicles are much more fuel efficient now. They turn off at the red lights. Everybody loves it when it happens. Completely joking. They're also safer because they have the surrounding crash sensors, backing sensors, all those different things. So they're hoping for less crash. It has lane redirection. You guys love that, right? When your steering wheel starts to vibrate and make sounds. But all that being said, we were spending an average right now. Our fleet has gone up since our 5-year CIP from about 1.1 million to about $2.2 million a year for 20 vehicles. And think about how much capital that depletes from out of the town's coffers. But it's a necessity. It's unfortunate, but it's a necessity to keep your police and fire vehicles going. I know Amy loves hearing that. But
I'm on a 25-year.
you are. But with this being said, this plan, and keep in mind, being unselfish, could be advantageous for every department in the town except for the fire department because they do not handle fire trucks. But they do everything up to the 450 chassis, any vehicle, parks and rec, anything. So you guys are asking about vehicles, wanting vehicles. To hear this out on this, okay? Think of the $2.2 million number that we talked about a moment ago to replace 20 vehicles right now, okay? Think about that number. So right now, they're telling us, so 2025 replacing 30 vehicles. Don't get scared. 30 vehicles. 2028, 30 vehicles. 2027, 27 vehicles. 2028, 25 vehicles. In year 5, 48 vehicles will be replaced because that's how many we bought over the past 2 or 3 years that would be bought up into that cause. So go to where we're at with cars. Let me get my notes here. They're saying that we can, in the first year, when I gave you that 30 car number, release $453,000 for 30 vehicles. Now that does not include upfit. The upfit is the most expensive part of these vehicles. So 30 vehicles at $453,000. So we're going to add it's probably closer to 1.1 with all the upfit because you have to put a down payment down if you're going to, for the equipment, because this is a one-stop shop. So basically we pay Enterprise. Enterprise is going to use our vendor. We will never see the vehicle until it's done. Right now, the vehicle shows up, it sits on the ground until Mr. Sign can stripe it. Then it sits on the ground until the equipment comes in, and it could be, however many months that could take. Then it goes here, and they're driving all between these places, and all the tires get dry rotted, the whole 9 yards. So it's a turnkey. It comes to us turnkey. So year 2, we're in the lease. By year 2, we're at $881,350. So by year 5, we're at $2.45 million, which is where we are right now, paying for vehicles essentially that we can't get because there's no capital improvement plan, really no funded. Truly, it's year to year, like Ms. Rhonda was explaining. So this is an opportunity. So by year 5, I am now turning in the year 1 vehicles back to Enterprise. I'm selling them back to them at a Kelley Blue Book value. So we will regain $260,000 some odd dollars in money and residual for what the first year vehicles were, or we could choose to buy them and pay off the rest of the value of that vehicle. So I bring all this to you to tell you that this is 100% an option because by year 6, now I'm starting my year 6, I'm gonna be replacing X amount of vehicles. I just did 48 vehicles in year 5 at 2.4 million. So so what I'm telling you is this is advantageous for us now. It is something I think 100% you all should look into. Certainly you're not making any plans or ideas or decisions today, but I can send all this to you. It has everything explained to you. There are other things that are really good in it. For example, they will track our vehicles. So Ronnie, you will be able to basically kind of what JIRA does. You'll be able to see the maintenance and we'll be able to see everything that's been done on this vehicle. Not only that, Enterprise comes, sits down with us every year and they will look at it and say, you were supposed to get 30 cars next year, but you think you only need 26. That's fine. We could make that change. It's not going to change what we do. We can still do that. But the one thing that's not advantageous that you must think about is if the cost of the vehicles change. So if they go up in value, we're going to have to pay that difference. But the way things have been looking, they're looking at about 3% a year right now, I think is what they told us. And that's obviously everything changes. We have a new administration coming in at the federal level. They're saying that the Fed is going to stay the way it is for the next 6 months. There's a lot of things that are factors that are one-offs, but I think it's something that we can look at as a town. And to give you an idea, there's a lot of municipalities and counties, not just municipalities. I mean, not just counties, municipalities and counties that are using this around South Carolina. What was very important to me was when they gave me the list of references Mr. Slatton, who knows everybody in county and state government, municipal government, looks at the references of who's here, and he immediately identifies Bluffton, South Carolina, as somebody who he really looks up to as a town administrator. Calls them. This is not hearsay. He told me he's present. He said it's a very, very good program. He said just make sure that basically you price into it everything that you want for that vehicle, because when you start making changes and modifications in year 2 or year 3, that's where it starts to change the price on everything. He also, Florence County, they started this with the sheriff's office with their undercover cars, and they have moved for the entire county now. The city of Richland has almost 800 vehicles, and they use this program. So literally you're getting safer vehicles, more economical in fuel efficiency, they're safer, and less time sitting in your bays that they need you worked on. And all the vehicles, telemetry, all the information on them can be checked to see oil changes, services, car crashes, wear and tear on the vehicles to see how much money they put into these vehicles. And I'll say one more thing, this is why I'm advantageous for everybody but police. For non-pursuit vehicles, they will not insure, as I was, they will not warrant they have a warranty program for non-pursuit vehicles, and they will cover 5 years or 100,000 miles. So think about this for a minute. Ronnie, you would never have to work on those cars because they would go to the vendor we choose, the enterprise has a relationship with. If we want to go to Jiffy Lube on Main Street, that town vehicle would go there and would take your manpower off the floor from working on that, and they can work on the 10 fire trucks that are broke down that we want to borrow from somebody else. So, I made it. I'm making that number up. You bring it, send it anywhere you want. I'm just telling you, think about that for a moment, okay? How the cost savings with your admin vehicles that are in the town. Just putting it out there. That's tires, brakes, anything like that. And one last thing I'll say, this does not change with the insurance for our vehicles. The way we insure, if we wreck the car, it's handled the same way as if it's our car right now. Obviously, it depreciates the value of the vehicle because of the crash and the good thing called Carfax. But is there any questions about any of that? That's the last thing I had.
Geez, so in year 5, this is roughly 2.1.
Almost 2.4.
2.4. So year 6, are we adding more close to lease in year?
Yeah,
I'm just curious about.
Yeah, so it continues to do this,
right.
But based on
some roll off.
They roll off, correct. Okay. So like I was telling you, in year 5 of year 5, we go to year 6. That's where you would renew the lease if you choose to. Yeah. They also said you can get to year 2 or 3 and say, you know what, this isn't working for us. We want to stop doing this. Right. And you can stop doing it. Now you just have to pay the difference on the vehicles that you leased for the first year or 2 or 3 you're into it. But it is certainly worth looking at. I think it's a way that could really help Miss Rhonda out in a lot of ways with stuff that she's working on her end. But at the end of the day, we don't have to come to you and say 20 cars is not enough. Well, what is enough? I don't know. I can't tell you that. I can tell you how many cars I've lost. I can tell how many cars we need. But this would actually, they would do the work for us, and it's done systematically and it's done through a system.
I'm just looking for like the worst case scenario. What's our annual cost? What's the worst it would be? Is it 2.4 million?
By year 5, yes.
Yeah.
And then it's changing in year 5 because when you go into year 6, right now it's showing the same number, but we don't know what the prices of cars are going to be in 6 years.
Right. Yeah, they're not projecting out for this particular analysis. They're not projecting out beyond that first 5 years.
That makes sense.
Because
I understand why they're not. I just was thinking if we're budgeting $2.5 million every year now, we have a freebie for 3 years. Say that we don't have to budget 2.42.
So we're at 1.1 or so with all the upfit.
Right. Well, one of the things that they also said is, despite what they presented, we could, if we chose to go this direction, we could customize it to extend. Maybe we do a 7-year lease.
Yeah.
We don't do as many on the front end per cycle. So there's a lot of adjustability that's in this thing, and this is just a concept that we would bring to you at budget time to consider.
I think that's approach.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought Scott said this thing was supposed to be 7 minutes.
Well, I had to make I had the dispatch part too.
Excuse me, man.
Yeah.
If I could speak.
Yes.
So Something that I've passed around the idea a little bit, but now it's kind of become serious to me that I'd like you and Amy to look at. Those white road barriers, those are traffic guides. They're not a barrier that we put out for our events. I have multiple pictures, probably 6 or 8 of different type of road barriers. They come out on wheels, you flop them down. The best one I've seen is an L that's sprung on the back, car hits it, lifts it up in the back.
We've had those discussions, actually, myself and Mr. Slatton after the New Orleans incident. We got into pretty heavy discussions and some of that stuff and stuff we're gonna change.
I think we really needed to cover the Azalea Festival. I don't think we'll be able to cover the parade or anything like that, but.
We've got alternatives. We have dump trucks, garbage trucks we can borrow. There's things we can get from the county that we can do. Our MRAP sits at the head of the road, but certainly they use fire apparatus too. But yes, sir, we're gonna do everything we can. Obviously, we're not gonna give away our secrets to the community, but that is the #1 priority for us.
Yeah, it's gotta be a physical stop.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right. Good deal. Do we need a break? Sounds like we need a break. Let's take another 5/10 minute break.
No.